announcement has been paid for by the Celtic World Order.
Hello, good evening, and welcome back for the second, can't believe it, back to back, actually managed to do it, the second episode of Celtic World Order podcast. This evening, you'll see I'm joined by someone, thank Christ you might be saying, I know I'm feeling better for having somebody to bounce off. It's an old friend, it's Canada's favourite Tim, it's the punk duck warlord himself, Mr. Liam Greenlaw. Mate, it's been a long time and it's absolutely brilliant to be back with you. How you feeling, man?
We talk all the time, Steve.
I know, but that's talking shite. We're not always talking Celtic, are we? So, how are you keeping, mate?
It's good to see you back online, mate. Aye, fucking pleasure to do this way in the middle of the afternoon here in Canada. So, great to see you back on the box.
No, it's a say, you know what? It's been a long time coming. As I say, so just try to change it. Wee bit different. Wee bit of rock there at the start. Rock and roll football, rock and roll Celtic. It's a wee bit of me as well, so that's what it's all about here. But as I say, listen, welcome to everybody that might be watching, listening to some of the lines. I says, let me get it out of the way. Our operation is small right now, but as I said yesterday, there's always room for some rapid expansion. So if you want to support Celtic fan content like this, you want to support the Celtic World Order and help us get the word out here, do us a wee favour. It takes 2 seconds. If you like the video, if you subscribe, you'll get notified every time another video comes out. And if you want to connect elsewhere, check the description below. That'll connect you into the old school Facebook, if that's still your bag. And also, you can get the official X, as it formerly was, Legacy Twitter account for here. And of course, mine's is there. And Liam is also, you'll get his tag in there as well. Okay, so that's the wee bit of housekeeping out the way. As I say, let's spread the word. Let's make it happen. Let's build up the community here. Liam, we've spoke about various things back and forward, but one thing we haven't spoke about that I attempted to do last night on my lonesome was the weekend match. Did you take it in? What did you think? Was it a result that pleased your eye?
Aye, it was a very workmanlike performance. It's what we talked about. Me and Phil on the Boise bus on the Friday had talked about. Just Celtic getting out there and dominating. It wasn't as quick as what I would have liked it to happen, but you could see in the first half that we're building towards something. You know, we should have had that penalty earlier on. There was loads of things. So we did come out. I thought we took the game to them, and then by the time we got to the second half, they just fell apart. I mean, we still had some problems on their side as well, but Joe Hart was really bothered. You know, he wasn't bothered at all, and it was more or less looking for players not to get injured. That was like the thing at that point. And I thought the goals were okay. They weren't. Nobody's going to be putting that in their highlight reel, you know. I thought the goalkeeper was weak on 2 of them, but Christ, there's still goals. And at this point, just to get that game, get the 3 points out the way, I was more than happy with that result. You know,
definitely. I mean, I know it is only Livingston, and you've got to sort of caveat that way. You know, you can only beat what's put in front of you. But it was important for us, wasn't it, to build on that wee sort of bit of form we've seen. As I say, as we take the Hearts performance aside, it did look a wee bit more like ourselves. And obviously, as you said, you pointed out getting through it with no injuries was massive. Carter Vickers, Rio Hatate, they're the 2 names that come to mind when you think about, was it worth risking them? But certainly it looked that way. The players seem to be pushing on. I've no fear listening to yourself elsewhere that he's been a name that's come up and down. I mentioned him myself yesterday, Nicholas Kuhn. What's your thoughts on there? Is he a guy that you think's going to push on and place himself in at the weekend?
He's looking to have a bit of confidence about him. I like that. He doesn't have the same way of taking on a man the entire time. I think guys like Palmer got found out really quick because his go-to was to run the ball to the corner, stop it, take it on his right foot, and then just sort of push it out a step and then try and flip it back inside. And I think when that happened, the first two 2 games against him, I think a lot of players had that figured out that he wasn't going to take you to the touchline and try and beat you in, with the afterburners, with the speed and all that. So I think Nicholas Kuhn has got much more to his game than that. I'm seeing him do it different ways. He's taking guys to the byline. He's taking them direct where he's running a diagonal into the box, or he's coming back out and he's running on an arc, and again, drawing players with you. And as long as you got that movement in the box, I think that's where we're going to see Kyogo and some of the other players filling in, maybe more like Matt O'Reilly and that as well, that once that awareness, once that relationship builds, you get that, then we'll get more going more cohesively. But right now, that side of our attack's looking a lot stronger than what it.
I would agree.
That is the strongest side to attack from now.
And I know a guy that you like. I've seen an improvement in him because he's been up and down a wee bit maligned at times. Was Alistair Johnson? It seemed that his form had maybe fell off the edge of a cliff a wee bit. I think that's just he just didn't have that right guy in front of him, because him and Kuhn, it's early days yet with that relationship and that partnership. But they do seem to have a good understanding. There's the overlaps, they're supporting each other. It's quite defensively strong down the right hand side as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Johnson it was more mental than anything else. I think it was like some people just get too comfortable in their surroundings, and I think he got too comfortable at Celtic too fast, and I think he had to have a couple of shocker games and actually see the crowd demand better from him to sort of buck himself. I think that's just my personal view. I think that could have been the problem because, physically, it's 2 injuries were both head injuries as well too, right? That kept him out. I think it was like one was eye socket and then one was he got hit with the ball and then get hit by the elbow and that. And so, it's right to give them the proper rest and all that because, he's played hockey as well. You see that those head injuries now are way more under scrutiny than what they are in football.
I think as well, when players get injured doing it.
But he's playing. He's playing a lot better. He looks more direct. But Alistair Johnson is not a spectacular player. You don't see him messing up as when he's there. But he's not going to give you the stuff that Juranovic gives you, or even Tony Ralston. I still think Tony Ralston is equally as good as. I don't think there's that much between the two. I say Alistair Johnson's getting it now just because he's got far more minutes and playing time. But I don't think huge gulf between the two of them.
And I think what Paddy says, you always get 100% from him. I suppose that's echoed again with Tony Ralston says as the backup. They might not be the most fancy players there, but they're robust and they're quite hardy. And they're committed to the cause, and that seems to be, certainly as you say, he's maybe get a wee bit too comfortable because fans really bought into that. We went for Juranovic, who wasn't really down and dirty, putting in the challenges and putting himself around. And then we got somebody like Alistair Johnson, and it maybe became a wee bit too easy for him. But you said about the injuries and the head injuries, and we know ourselves around sort of, concussions and that is a big thing in all sports at the moment. And you could probably argue as well that when you've had 2 consecutive injuries of that kind of nature, that probably is going to affect your confidence a wee bit.
Right.
Back, knock you for 6, and he still comes back in, and it doesn't seem to affect his game. He might have been slow to get back up to speed, but he never lost his commitment, did he?
No, I mean sometimes you see that with players as well. It's like you take a good head knock or something like that, and then all of a sudden they're a bit shyer. You see more guys with broken legs and and stuff like that they don't tackle the same way anymore. They tend to hesitate and that. And
Kyle, there's the key one, mate.
Who?
Kyle.
Kyle,
when he took that, it was never the same guy when he came back for injury. So,
and so there's very few players show up like Larsson, and all of a sudden, and Larsson's an exceptional player, but so you get somebody at Johnson's ranges, especially when you're battling and you're in Scotland where everything seems to be a battle and you seem to have less protection from the referees, and that's 2 times in one season. He might be a bit more shyer going up in the air in that, and so the good thing is that doesn't look to have any sort of effect in him. So, himself. But our referees got to do a lot better job at that because
we'll get on to referees
because an elbow to the head. I mean, That's the stuff, whether it's accidental or no. You don't want that normalising that sort of aerial duels where, oh, well, the elbow didn't make contact or didn't make contact in this way. You don't want elbows around heads at an aerial duel if you can.
Yeah.
So normalising that sort of behaviour, that, oh, it's just a yellow and not a red because of the intent or whatever. That's not how you do it.
What about a poke in the eye if you're a jumping defender going for a header inside the box?
Yeah, I used to be my do move. That's how I defended.
Listen, but as you say, we brought up referees, and I've just cracked a joke off there about a questionable one that we saw at the weekend elsewhere. Thankfully, that came to nothing. But listen, the result there, it was kind of in the post, wasn't it? So anyway, but the news was announced today. Let's crack on as we look towards the game at the weekend. As it says there on the tagline, SFA are shown their contempt. And we'll move on to the other half at some stage. You know, the stars are aligning at the correct times. Ibrox is round the corner. So we were waiting for it, and well, we got it, didn't we? The staunchest of the staunch, one might say. So the referees, the officials, the man in the middle, John Beaton. I am shocked. Assistant referees, Daniel McFarlane, Dougie Potter, and VAR. It's the king of VAR. Of course, Nick Walsh. Nick penalty Walsh. Nick sending off Walsh.
Steve-O, do you ever read Alan Moore?
Poor wee Willie's just the touchline fourth official.
Have you ever read Alan Moore? Alan Moore, like V for Vendetta, or some of the other ones that is the comics, or Grant Morrison and that, where they write about things that could happen. And this to me seems like something out of like a dystopian sort of sports film. Where you got the rebels against this, and they're doing, everything that they can. This is like Gladiator, where they're taking a wee chip out your ribs before they send you in to fight with them.
Is it one last hurrah, one last shot for Crawford before he wanders off into the sunset?
I think it's definitely that. But here's where the trap door opens up, right? Here's where it could get interesting. All right, so just with everything that's happened lately, all eyes are going to be on this game. There's going to be eyes on it for all sorts of reasons that we know now we can get into as well. So when you look at that under scrutiny, okay, so maybe the worst thing that could ever happen to them and the best thing that can happen to us is like, all right, let's notify everybody of what's happening with this game. You can now see it. It is like a defined thing. And if it comes out staunch, I think you'll have much more eyeballs on this and much more commentary and much more transparency. The one thing that they hate, you'll get transparency around this game and it will start to come up. It's like, okay, well, maybe it will ask you questions. Why? And if anything happens in this one, it's headline news. It's headline news because we're going and everybody's watching it. So he would have to be the squeakiest of the clean. If he isn't, fuck, that's a hell of a narrative as well. Because now everybody's seen it and everybody's seen it for what it is. And so, so how's the cards? Does it come tumbling down then? Or because at that point, Scottish football is not fit for purpose. All right, so then what happens? So,
well, as I say, the big question I want to ask you has got to be, as I say, we use the term contempt. Now, we've seen it back to back. We had Don Robertson and obviously Beaton. The guys are around about controversy, and so much so that Brendan Rodgers is coming out and he's calling these guys out, and it's going to a panel where he's getting disciplined. Obviously, he gets a very, in my opinion, fortunate result of that, because it could have been a lot worse, as we've seen some other managers getting. But is it a case of, is it as blatant as being that deliberate? Is it a two fingers up to Celtic, or is it trying to strong arm and say we're in charge and remind you? Because you're getting Don Robertson straight in there against Livingston, and now we've got Beaton in, which is undoubtedly a pivotal match. You could go some way to deciding where this title goes. As much as we maybe don't like these guys as referees and as officials, do you think it's also unfair on them? Does it put these guys, in a position that they should maybe be removed from?
See, I think they've put themselves in that position by the fact that they've built themselves into an institution that has no transparency whatsoever. That they don't get a chance to come out and say, well, listen, I thought that was a foul because when I seen the replay, they only showed me the still. And when I seen the still, that looked really threatening, the boot coming to a guy's face or whatever, right? Whatever that is. But I think they kind of come out and just, keys, you caught us, we're corrupt as fuck. It's like, oh, man, fuck. Scooby-Doo mask coming up and got away with it too if it wasn't for the press. I mean, Tim's right. Yeah, I think it's both. I think it's damage control on their part, so they have to make it look like, no, we will conduct our business as usual in a dignacious, brogified way. It's always on mistakes and stuff. But that's what it just seems like. They don't do anything to sort of help them. But if they'd done anything else and it was like, if they brought out Willie Collum, and they'd be going after Heed as well.
Yeah.
So it's better for us to go after Heed than them to go after Heed, because they're terrified of them and they don't want them. They're already going to have their hands full on Sunday with something else, right? So like the narrative might have to shift somewhere. The storyline might have to be about what's not going on in the stands.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
because
that's something else that's going to be coming up, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I think it's and I think it's a really interesting sort of social type thing watching that from over here. As again, like, there's a lot of people been commenting on Scotland, and from like on the Joe Rogan show to news things I've just seen up on my feed here, that it's like, wow, these new hate crime laws in Scotland, they're really, and Canada seems to be following in the same way. And then you've got someone like Ali McCoy's coming out today and saying, I'll be singing the same songs with 98% of the other people, or I don't know how it wasn't 100%, but I guess some of them have evolved and grown thumbs. And
oh dear. Well, do you know, as I say, you've sort of segued into a subject there with the referees. Listen, we don't want to labour that too much. We have to bring it up, don't it? Because it's, as we say, it's a hot topic, and particularly when we look at the man that's been named. As I say, another big thing is there's not going to be any fans. It's not going to be any fans for the remaining 2 games between the teams. Obviously, we know that moving into next season, there's going to be that 5%. So, we're looking at about 2.5, anywhere between 2.5, maybe up to 3,000 at Ibrox. But it's going to be a complete shutout, and we're going to have to do it all on our own against what's going to be, let's face it, another toxic backdrop, which leads us on. It's not quite football, but as you rightly said, a certain Mr. McCoist, who is whether you like him or hate him, he's a figurehead for Scottish football media and punditry. He's always seen as being a cheeky chappy, as they say, but has the mask slipped a wee bit there by, it seems a strange comment, doesn't it, for a man there to say, I, like others, are going to be singing, 50,000 others are going to be singing the same things, and I'll probably be in the wrong end of the new hate crime legislation that only came out on the 1st there. Whether that is the case or not, I mean, let's not kid ourselves on, right? People from both sides are going to be singing things are going to get said, they're going to get shouted out. That doesn't make it okay, that doesn't make it right. But with the new legislation that has come out, football is going to be one of the arenas, if you will, that is going to be getting hammered out. Fans are going to be on the end of that constantly, are they not? And does it seem like it's going to sway into that muddy territory of the now defunct Offensive Behaviour at Football Act? Do you think that's something that's going to become an issue and manifest itself in games where governing bodies are getting involved and the likes as well?
Of course. I mean, governments want to control mass orders of people. And that was the one thing that they had a degree of success with, and they could experiment and play and kettle and, all that sort of stuff that they use for, controlling tactics and stuff. So will they use this? Yeah, I think there's an opportunity. I don't even think they have to use it as a social experiment. You see it, this game being at Ibrox. I think there's going to be like a full, like in almost like an anti, like protest against it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I believe when you heard the songbook at Livingston in the weekend in the stands. Fucking hell, man, that was a lot of old tunes belted out there. That weren't really Celtic related.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see that just with people in general, regarding of where you're from or what your values or that is, whether it's sectarian or whatever. You tell people not to do something. And what I'm going to do their best to do it. They just want to air some control authority. Doesn't mean they're sectarian or racist or whatever, but at some point they're using that as a form of protest. And I think seeing with Ali McCoy's, it's not been I mean, as a man, he's the same age as me. I played against him once in Toronto. Anyway, but
did you try and cut him in half?
No, he was on the other side. He was playing centre half. I was playing fullback. But I mean, he's never been one to shy away from being a mouthpiece and all that. But he's not a typically mature man. You know what I mean? Where he can he'll still try. He still wants to be a cheeky chappy and all that. That wee sort of boyish, roguey, Reilly football guy, football mentality. Still one of the boys.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. That seems to be him. And so I think that's in his makeup, his DNA. It's like, you're not going to tell my boys what to do and all that. We'll show you and that. And I think it's an opportunity to see the staunchness of what they can come up with. Is it the fact that there's no opposing fan base in the building? More people will end up like, why are they so angry? I don't know. Like, who are they angry against? Just the 11 guys. And that's it. They're not screaming at other fans. They're screaming at the telly, I guess, to the fans in the telly or acting towards the cameras and shit.
Yeah.
But so you never know. This whole thing could backfire them, or could backfire for them as well too. Where if all eyes are on us because of the ref, or all eyes are on because of what's going to happen in the stands, maybe we just run away with it and we just, as Brendan says, we write that narrative, and this is everybody think the big story there. What is the story? We came up, we gave a fucking hide in the morning. I mean, sorry, yesterday. On Sunday, we gave them an absolute doing. Let that, because then, oh my God, then it'll be full toys out the pram. Then you'll see.
It's exactly as I was saying last night. I was saying the same thing. I do believe, it's going to be hostile, and no fans having, experienced. We've seen Celtic Park with all Celtic fans, and there's no doubt it was electric atmosphere. I still think that, the having the proper or a near proper allocation like we'll get next season will make all a difference. But on that, as I say, we've been talking about trying to pick up form, and as I say, the stars align. We've got guys coming back. We're showing a wee bit of form. One thing that perhaps looks as if it had been a lacking a wee bit is mental strength from Celtic throughout the course of this season. There's a lot of guys there that are seasoned. They'll have experienced this. There'll be one or two that won't have, the likes of Nicholas Kuhn, for example. But do you think that how much is that crowd going to play into their hands and give them a wee bit of strength, a wee bit extra? Or do you think it's going to make it harder? Do you think our guys have got what it takes to stand up and be counted in the mental side of things? We all believe that the form's picking up and going in the right direction. And I would say if you put teams on form side by side, we should be able to take care of it. But that red hot atmosphere when the ball's kicked off and the whistle goes, it's going to be 100 miles an hour, isn't it? Is it? Are we at risk? Are we at risk that we could maybe burn up early?
I think we were at risk if we didn't have CCV. He's the Iceman. They don't call him the fridge for nothing, right? He's the coolest cat in the park. He's the one that leads by example. Never see him shouting and waving arms and all that and that. No, you see him doing what he needs to do right at that moment and does it. Makes a decision, goes for it and does it. you know, and that seems to be him, you know. It's never dilly-dallying on the ball or looking back for uncertainty. No, he makes snap decisions and makes it quick and gets that ball there where he needs to. Callum McGregor back will be a good thing. You know, I wasn't going to say Greg Taylor, but we guys...
He's your favourite player?
Well, he's got main character syndrome. You know, at one point he was running there to take a fucking corner kick for the... He was pushing, I can't remember, Yang or something away to take the corner kick for the right-hand side. He's doing there. That's he's away. That's main character syndrome, and that's what I always thought as well. It's like, if that's your leadership on the park, you might as well gain up. And so he needs to get on there, but don't just fucking do your job. Don't go out there trying to be a fucking leader. I don't need to see you overlapping Hatate to get into a better spot to get fuck knows what, and then expecting Hatate to go back and cover your man because you've added yourself to the attack. And that happened on Sunday. There was times where he was getting involved in overlapping, but nobody's even running with him now. People just watch him go by. Oh, it's Greg Taylor, you know. It's like you can time it. So I think we need to. That's the one thing that worries me, because his mental toughness, and that guy always managed to tune out, and he will be targeted. And when he's targeted, and I don't think he's particularly comfortable in Ibrox, well, at least on the way.
Well, when you talk about targeting, as it says, let's look into the game and the sort of, you know, the key battles, and you know what we predict. I think the squad's going to be. One way, again, a name that I mentioned, and as I say, it's kind of, you're almost damned if you do, damned if you don't when it comes to this guy this season, and it's Liam Scales. Now, obviously, Carter Vickers, as you say, he brings, and I mentioned again last night, he brings that, you know, he brings that calmness, he brings that sort of composure, you know, he's got the professionalism, and it just seems to sort of breathe through, and you know, man behind him as well, Hart, gives him confidence to know that it's taking care of in front of him. But the guy that's more than likely going to be sitting beside him, or playing beside him, should I say, is Liam Scales. And he seems to be, as a guy, he's listening to his performances in the two against Rangers this season. They've been pretty good. They've been pretty robust. But again, he's a guy that seems, as I said last night, he seems to have almost bought into a wee bit of his own hype, where he's went from knowing his limitations, just doing what he has to do, to now thinking he's this sort of ball-playing centre-half. And teams seem to be taking advantage of that. And he is always prone to be, as you said with Taylor, he comes out too far, he finds himself out of position, and folk are able to cover his backside. What do we need to do around that defensive sort? Obviously, we need to be tough, we need to be structured, we need to be keeping it together, and you know, not doing anything silly. But do we need to try and rid out that Scales effect where he's almost starting to build up the play? Should it be back to basics?
Well, you know, one of the things about CCV on his side of the park is he's playing next to Alistair Johnson. I don't think Greg Taylor's a good fit for Liam Scales. I think it diminishes his performance in his game, you know. And so we're in a battle when we go to Ibrox this game, and we need some players that can battle. And right now, I would keep Scales in there for this game. There's other games where we're dominating and we have a lot of the ball. It tends to, you know, like the longer we take to score, the more he gets, you know, the worse he seems to look on the ball and that. But we're in a battle, and we're looking for hard tackles, and we're looking for players roughing it up. When I'm looking for somebody to step in, and you know, if somebody goes there to get in there, I don't think Liam Scales is a bad option in this one. I think we've got the fact that we've got a flair player like Hatate in front of him. Okay, you don't have to make that pass now. You just have to get it to Rio. You know, Taylor's not going to help you. I mean, so you know, he's going to be standing in the sideline, or he's going to hugging the touchline or whatever, or just looking to pass it back to Callum McGregor. But it's if he can figure out how to just get the short ball to Rio, let him turn and let him create the vision of how the ball's going to be spread from that midfield there. So you don't have as much to do it anymore. And I think McGregor's back as well. So I think the two of those in tandem to just sort of soak it up would be better.
Yeah,
I'd love to see Roger start Ralston. You know, I think
Go with Ralston.
Aye, I'd
That's bold.
Ralston at left back than Greg Taylor.
Oh, that's a bold shout. I've got to say.
I know, but if you look at, everybody's talking about data this week, the guy in Axum and that, and and like patterns of this and that, and Rodgers has got his new data guy or the old guy for Celtic is now back with him as well. So if you look up the data and stuff like that, and the amount of goals that we succeed with Greg Taylor, that data should be pretty obvious. If you look at, I can count most of the goals where we've been hurt. It's all come from that side of the park, and that seems to be where we are vulnerable. And I think it's just it's so negligent that we haven't tried to fix it. If we can't fix it through recruitment, then you've got good players. You've got a squad. There's loads of players that have been played out of position. Chris Sutton, Larson, all these people have modified. When you're a footballer, you're a footballer. If you know how to head the ball, kick the ball, cross the ball, and that's your job, and you can do that. You can overlap, you can play patterns, and even understanding how this team has played, but also you have the aggression and mental fortitude to play in this game.
Yeah.
I'd love to see somebody come in and challenge him. It really annoys me that the last two games where we've had 3-goal leads, we've gave him 90 minutes, where it's like, okay, well, what if we get a Mitchell Frame or Tony Ralston on just to give him 20 minutes so that we've got some sense of comfort that if Greg Taylor does go down, because he was running a bit hard in his arm the other day, right? And he's had a collarbone injury.
Yeah, he's had issues previously, that's correct,
he's taking a throw in and hurt his arm, right?
But, the thing is, it's interesting to say that I tend not to pay overly too much attention to the data in some respects, because I think sometimes you can use that and spin a narrative. But it is interesting when you look at the weekend. As I say, as much as Livingston didn't threaten us, anytime they did, they tried to go certainly down that left-hand side and capitalise on the Taylor and the Scales combination. And, again, we look at who they're going to be up against at the weekend. Obviously, we'll go on when we discuss our own midfield. So you'd assume that Maeda is going to be further up, and that's going to help pin back Tavernier as their main attack down there. But in the situation that he is to get in behind, and again, even guys like Dessers, where, listen, he's far from the most devastating striker in the world. But one thing that he does seem to do is put himself about, and he's probably going to be facing off against Scales. That's going to be the guy that he's going to be up against. And again, in behind, looking to go down that left-hand side, I would dare say is going to be, he goes in against Hibs and puts away a big header. Do you think that's going to be the key area of battle for our forwards? It's all going to be down our left. And is that where the idea of bringing Maeda, does he have to start for you to give that wee bit of sort of cover and robustness defensively?
I think it does that. It does that. It gives us... I think they're still rattled for that goal he scored against them, where they went to pass it across the back to Tavernier and that. And Maeda just went Dragon Ball Z, Super Saiyan, afterburners were on, just zoom, straight down the middle and bang, put it in at the back of the net. And it was a beautiful goal. Love seeing that. And I think that's the one thing that they'll remember. They say it might have the blonde hair now, but when they look, they're still going to look and just see that blur. Billy Wiz.
4 goals in the post-ball era.
What?
4 goals in the post-ball era for Maeda. So,
he's like Ito. Remember, he was a Japanese player that played in Italy.
Right. The bleach blonde.
Aye.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Keep it going. I think he's having a good run of form, and God, I mean, we got on Maeda, especially on your podcast, like the judge and all that. Jesus Christ. He's with everybody. I'm just Craig Taylor. So
he's a mix. Listen, Maeda's a mixed bag, but as we say, we're pretty much, in terms of formation stuff, you're wanting to see something a wee bit different in terms of the left back position. I think if we're honest in ourselves, Brendan Rodgers is going to go tried and tested. We can almost predict what the back four is going to be. It's going to be the standard. There's going to be Carter Vickers, Scales, Johnson and Taylor. The midfield, is it more of the same for Livingston? One thing you did say is when we were talking about Scales and having to sort of nullify that notion where he's trying to bring in the ball. Do you think? I think that actually, when you think about it, that's probably been happening simply because of the large periods that we've not had Rio Hatate, because he's going to be more advanced. McGregor's going to be. He was trying to do everything and be everywhere to fill that bridge, the gap, and be both his own role and the Rio role. But he'll be dropping back, taking the ball earlier as he does, pivoting into Hatate. So do you think, in terms of our midfield, is it more of the same? Is it the exact same? Do we go with carbon copy what we've seen at Livingston, where you've got Kuhn, Maeda, and then you've got your combination of Reilly, Hatate, and McGregor?
Aye. I think Scales and Hatate still have to build up a relationship. I think once they get that, you'll see Scales become a better player. So what I was saying earlier, if you figure that 10-yard pass, or Hatate can get another 5 yards up the park, if he can start playing just a wee bit more in front of where he's playing right now, just 5 yards, if he can dominate that space, and then Scales moves up that wee bit as well. Right now, I think there's just been overly cautious. But I think if they can move up, if they can move their game up, that where all their stuff's coming for 5 or 10 yards ahead of where they are now, that's where you're going to see the real vision and focus coming, where Hatate will start making more passes, more shots, all that stuff. He becomes so much more dangerous with just that being a little bit closer to goal, and that's where we'll see it. So I'm looking for the midfield to do that. I think McGregor will help with that. And if we're looking at our midfield now, it'd be Hatate, McGregor, Reilly.
Yeah, there's got to be. I mean, McGregor coming back is, again, like I says, you throw him back in, he's not going to have played any minutes, but he's a consummate professional, and he always seems, no matter if he's had a bounce match or if he's been training or if he's not, anytime he's come back from any form of injury, it's almost been like slipping on an old pair of shoes where it's been so familiar and he hasn't missed a beat. So absolutely, I think if he's rearing to go, as Brendan Rodgers was alluding to when he was asked the question, I think he was just being coy. He goes straight in, and that instantly picks up the overall, not only the technical ability, the pace, and just the class is just a wee bit higher with him and Hatate in there. You saw the difference that Hatate makes there. The one out of that trio, though, that he's probably due a big game, is is Reilly. I know for your own commentary on him, you're also in that camp that you think he's sort of just faded. His lights died down a wee bit. Is Sunday as good as any time for him to come back up and come out with a big time performance?
His goal celebration on Sunday was funny, huh? Like it was just sort of like me.
It's a bit muted, eh?
Aye, right. Like it wasn't, and it wasn't a great shot. It was like a sclaff and the keeper sort of helped it in the net.
Fortunately,
wasn't a great goal. He just contacted and drove it right at the netting. No, it was a bit of a fortunate goal for him. And that was really weird. I thought he would have been celebrating, but his third goal, we had it away and maybe just felt embarrassed that it wasn't better. But so you wonder about him, right? He's got to come down to Pride. He's just got left after the national team. All of a sudden, his career for Denmark, everything was all picking up. He was getting a lot of buzz about him before Christmas. He just seems to have fallen off. And you wonder what happens. And I don't know if it's like if he's unhappy with something, if he just doesn't like winter, if he's,
doesn't like winter. He's got sad. He suffers from sad, perhaps.
So come on, all you birds out there or something. Come on, you Celtic lasses, get out there and cheer up, Matt Reilly. Anybody?
No,
lasses, get there, cheer up.
Wait, I just think it's hard to tell. He certainly has dropped off a wee bit. I'm kind of hoping that, as you say, is similar with Carter Vickers and that, with the inclusion back in the Rio Hatate, when you've got that quality around you, it's going to want you to lift your game. They're going to put you into better positions. They're going to make your game all round better and improve everything across the board. So you know what, he has to go in, because I don't think that Iwata, he's tidy, He's no nonsense, but he's not got that extra wee bit of flair that we need. He's maybe got, he's more the kind of guy, if you've got a lead, you bring him on, you pack that midfield, you make it nice and sort of solid. As of Bernardo, he comes on, but you're not picking him over a Reilly, certainly not from where I'm sitting. I don't think that he's, you've got to have your key starters, you've got to have your main guys there and hope that they do produce, which would then leave the one position there, which is Kyogo, who seems to be looking a wee bit more like himself. Great record against Rangers, of course. Is he just the stick on? Is it exactly what you expect? Kyogo leads the line and hopefully does what he does?
100%. 100% you start Kyogo. We get up, I bring the Irish boy on, but this is a place where Kyogo knows he's scored before. He knows what it means. He knows what it means to the fans. And he likes a big showcase. You've seen him in cup finals. We've seen him at times where there's a chance to perform. I think he's had such a up and down season that this is a game for all the Celtic players to show up. We've said that about other games. We're time for Rodgers to show up. This is a team performance now. So what sort of squad do we have? Because this will be a full squad performance, right? Well,
yep.
We want all our best players on the park. Kyogo's our best player, and he's got Hatate now. He's got Maeda. Maeda's on fire. Okay, he's got Kwan on the wing now, who's starting to develop, a vision and stuff like that. So he's wanting a big game for Matt O'Reilly. He's wanting to see McGregor come in, have a good game, and he wants to get fed by Hatate. And maybe that's the difference as well too. That now we've got somebody that has got a similar type vision to him, somebody that sees shapes and movement a lot quicker than maybe the other people, and can catch on to Kyogo's played that type of system for years under Ange. That was what they were brought into play, and let's see what happens if we do that. So that Hatate is the ones looking for the spaces of both Dyson, Kyogo, and Kuhn as well, and that O'Reilly picks up, and he's now lifting his game to be on that same similar type of space.
Yeah. Well, as I says, the tagline they're saying about the stars aligning, we've touched that pretty much through our conversation here. Key players coming back, guys like Kuhn on the upshot. The bench itself at the weekend, it looks a wee bit more reassuring, doesn't it? We can look there. You're going to have an Awata, who we've seen. He's had a body of games now. We've seen that there's quality there. Bernardo, hit or miss, but has got a bit of quality in him. Guys like Yang, again, came on. Forrest, I know a guy that we spoke about previously at length, actually, doing a retrospective on him. He's another guy that's been contributing in the cameos he's came on. Ida, again, big guy, gives you a completely different option that we've probably in recent years never had against Rangers, where we can do that chaos ball, big balls into the box, a la Rangers, dare I say it, and see what happens. So the optimism's got to be there, isn't it? Rocky making an appearance back, but if worst case scenario, someone does get a knock, there's a quality defender there as well. So is it a perfect storm for us between the build, their play, how we're going, the quality that seems to be coming back, and then even small things, talking about the psychological edge of the game, this siege mentality, Rodgers back on the touchline after one of the guys in the middle is the reason that put him in the run to begin with. Is it just a perfect storm for Celtic? They're coming together, a melting pot, that the drive and the proving they want to go out there, lay down the marker, or lay down a reminder, should I say?
I mean, good players thrive on opportunities. That's why they thrive in finals and competitions and, scoring records and all that sort of stuff. People love to get noticed, and this is one of these games where you stand out and you can actually change your Celtic career. Don't think Kuhn has to remind himself that, this is an opportunity where he becomes like, the new Paddy Roberts almost, not just in looks, but in having a big game. And right now, this is a big game. It's a big game that you will be judging. I think it's bigger than the one at Celtic Park, because now we'll find out what you're like mentally. You wanted to play Cauldron. You wanted to play. all right, you're going into the devil's lair, the lion's den, or there'd be no lions there, but
Don't know why exactly, Gerard.
So it's the opportunity. Everybody just wants one more chance, one more time to prove themselves. I'm worried about the long balls going into the thing because, like, if we come out flying, I want to just crush them the same way we did, when Ange took over at Parkhead, and like Abada had scored the third just before half time, and I'd like to see that sort of performance. I mean, I know we all would, right? And then I think pressure off the refs, that takes the pressure off of the fans, everything that just quiets them doing, or they give themselves a showing up for what they are by completely losing the rag, and and can you tell us what to do, what to sing, and all that. And so I know both ways. I think you're right. It sets itself up for. I mean, this is the stuff Scottish football should be selling, Steve-O. Right? This is a storyline that has got so many layers woven into it. It's so interesting and complex, just even outside the football itself, that we got all these other narratives and storylines. If this was in North American sports, this would be like, it's be front page news for days, and all the build up and all that stuff, and then all the afters as well. And and I think Scottish football is like, okay, so what's positive out of this that we can salvage, and use to sell our game? I don't know. Positive, negative.
So see with the game then, just to sort of wrap it all up in a big bow, I spoke about it yesterday, and I've had back and forwards with various folk about it. And it's the big question, goes without saying, we want to win, but is it must win? Of course, lose, it doesn't seem even thinkable at this moment in time. Do you take a draw? Does a draw satisfy you, or is it imperative to you? Is it must win? Is there too much on the line at this moment in time that a win is the only thing that we need here, and the only thing that really we should be looking for?
My anxiety couldn't take a draw. Excuse me. No with the refs and all that. If we get into a draw, if we get into a position where it's close, that's where I start to lose faith in Greg Taylor. I don't want to see a ball coming in and him sleeping underneath it, and it's like, but he's only 5'4" or something, and what do you expect? Well, I expect a Celtic defender to be able to defend that. I don't care because it's Greg Taylor. You know what I mean? So that I would be getting really nervous the longer it hangs on. And then there's also the referees and the assisted patterns of assistance, right? So I think for us to win it, I think it has to be 2 or 3-0. I don't think.
I would agree with that sentiment. I think it can't be close. It can't be allowed to be close.
I don't think we'll not be comfortable getting out there when it's close, and I don't have the confidence in Scottish football and this confidence in some of the players. Everything it is, the mental fortitude to get out there with a close win. I think we need to. So I'm going to guess 5-1.
I was going to ask you, and I'm going to take that with the wee pinch of salt, but you're going for a win then, are you? Is that your prediction? Is that your bold prediction? Is it a statement win? Is it a return to form? Is it a stark reminder? And does it go some way to not only is this busting their ball, he's dropped out. Well, 5-1 he's saying. I'm not sure if I believe that, but here he is, he's coming back. I'm going to press him on that. 5-1, are you for real?
Aye, definitely. I think it's. I mean, fans don't get drug tested, do they?
Well, but you never know the way that things in legislation are going. They might just come over there and say 5-1. Williams have lost that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it could happen. I think they've not really suffered adversity in a way that's. I think there's a confidence about them for us that they've not really earned. And if you look at their performance and you look at the way we've looked, on paper it looks all good now, but when you see the assistance, or you see just all the close calls they have had with other teams, they're not that brilliant a team. I also think as well they've got players that are. They still haven't had anybody that's came out and dominated us as a player. I mean, Tavernier's close in a sense, but he makes enough mistakes that he sort of trades them off for other things as well. Like he's gave up a lot of goals against us as well, and so he's not got that. So I think for us, I think this guys like I don't think guys like Cantwell's mature enough to not lose the rag and all that. And I think that their crowd as well, they're expected to win. In fact, they're expected to come out and show us a doing. You know, and I think that's their fan base. And because it's all them and because you got all that around them, I think the tension on them is going to be far greater than the tension on us. It is a must-win for us, but it's a must-win for them in a way that they can't lose. They can't. If they lose it and then they're going into Celtic Park, they can't. We can afford to lose, maybe.
I'd agree.
I don't want to.
I said it the other night that I thought that mentally it kicks us on and it grows in confidence, and then our trajectory is only the way up. I was questioning, God forbid, the unthinkable happened, how we would react to a loss. But I was also very confident, and I'll repeat again, that I genuinely believe that a loss for them burst their ball. And then does the narrative then change? There's mental weakness, as we've seen, in lots of those players that are still around in that squad. Does that seep its way through? It makes Dundee a lot harder should they lose that match. And then again, as it says, let's not forget the narrative that we've been getting rammed down our throats since they've started to win and we started to drop points. This was a team that were going to win the quadruple. This was a team that were going to show how it was done. This was a team that had the best manager in the league. But if they lose that game, their new manager is now 2 for 2 in losses to Celtic and finds himself behind. Does that unwind their entire season?
I think it certainly throws a spanner in it, because right now he's not faced any real adversity. Well, little bits here and there, like when losing Europe and losing something, you can see cracks in it. But his whole facade is like, oh, very cultured man. I do not understand these Scottish big dogs and referees. And, you know, he tries to come across all snooty, like he's above us and all that. And there's, you know, like questioning referee standards, which he didn't get pulled up for.
No.
They do it in a smarter way, I guess, than what we did, or more Masonic way or something. But I don't think I think he'll collapse. I think he'll collapse the same way Michael Beale did. I think he's just been more fortunate, you know, and got out at a much better time than Beale. You know, I think if we go up 2 goals, or even if we get the first goal, I think the pressure on them is going to be unbearable. And I don't think he's that guy that can gather a team and get them motivated. I don't think Tavernier's that captain that's going to be able to motivate them. I don't think they have that player that's going to unite them and get them to dig deep and like, we're playing for Rangers. Because right now, they're all mercenaries. I know we've got plenty of foreign players in our team, but I don't know, we have something that's built more on teamwork and tradition than I think what theirs is. There's more identity on the self. We're more on the we. And so you could see our team. McGregor's has got experience in unifying and getting the team together. We've got players there that genuinely want to make each other better and stuff like that are playing with each other, national teams and stuff. So, yeah, I think that's the opportunity's there. So, yeah, 5-1. I think we've done it before. We'll do it again.
I absolutely love it. Liam, I said, mate, we've been almost an hour there. I want to thank you again for taking the time out to come onto this humble wee startup platform and give me somebody to bounce off. As I say, it's always a pleasure. You're welcome back anytime, and hopefully we'll do this again. Hopefully we can maybe get something in off the back of a win at the weekend. Let's hope. 5-1. Listen, I don't know what the odds on that are. I'll need to check your temperature, but I would take that any day. But at the same time, off somebody's arse, it doesn't matter how they go in, they all count. And at this point, we can't be picky, can we? We've got a league to win, we've got a game to get down to. Let's get down to business. Liam, thank you very much. I know it's early days still over there in Canada. Whatever you're doing with your day, enjoy yourself, my man, okay? And thanks again for coming on. Also, thanks to everybody who's taking the time out to help me out, to watch. I know the numbers are small and it starts to grow, but listen, we're going nowhere. This is going to keep on rolling. This doesn't stop. I don't stop. I'm bringing that back because that was good. I liked that. So listen, just take the time out if you haven't done. Give it a wee like, give it a subscribe. And if you want to go mental, share it out there, okay? Join Celtic World Order. Let's grow this together. Liam, good night, my friend, okay? Thank you very much. And hopefully we'll be celebrating come the weekend. Take care of yourself, mate.
Right, see you.